Hola, amigo. Welcome to another shitty day with your boy, Shiddy Bill, the #1 used car dealership salesman in America. Number one? Yeah, I said it. Number one. Numero uno for my Spanish friends. I'm trying to relax today. I'm not going to take anything too serious because my blood pressure is through the roof. Hello. Hey. Hi. How are you today? We're going to talk about probably a bunch of nothing for 30 to 40 minutes. And there ain't a damn thing you gonna do about it except watch and listen. Or in the case that you decide to not watch and listen, then get the hell out of here. Go on and click the X. I just want to talk to you about this last weekend I just had where I met my beautiful, lovable, blazing fire of a woman. I met her parents and her family for the first time. Have you have you met your significant other's family? Do you have a story that is worthy of being on this podcast where it was supposed to have been a good family adventure and your whole world just went to shambles right in front of your eyes? If you do, I want you to contact me via DM. My email will be right here. Or you can just comment below and you can tell me, and I will read it on the next episode or an episode in the future. And while you're there, like, comment, and subscribe anyway. Thank you very much. So, anyway, me and Sheila were sitting on Mama's couch, and she said, Bill, we've been together for a little bit now. We've been together for almost 2 months at this point. 3 months, hell. And it's getting real serious. And if we're gonna be together, you got to meet my family, Bill. They're going to love you. Oh, they will? I mean, what's not to love about? Oh, Shitty Bill here. So we made plans about when we were going. She called her mama up. She said, Mama, I want to bring my boyfriend over to meet the family. Can we come this weekend? And she said, Well, yeah, honey, you don't ever have to ask. Y'all come on over, but you text me before you get here so I can make sure the house is the way it needs to be. Make sure your daddy is wearing underpants. So the plan had been made. We were going over to meet Sheila's family. So I needed to wear something more approachable and more suitable. So I put on my best sleeveless flannel and I wore my Leonard Skinner shirt underneath it, tucked in, and my brown cowboy boots. It don't get much fancier than that. I mean that's an outfit that just screams classy and trashy, but like in a good way. So I went with that. And Sheila's getting all dolled up, even if she don't have to, 'cause she's beautiful the way she is, with her snaggle tooth and all. So well, they lived about 30 minutes up the road. So we get into my Wrangler, and we stop at the gas station. We got one of the big gulps, 'cause we don't go nowhere without our big gulps of Mountain Dew. Sheila asked me if I wanted a can of Copenhagen. I said, yes, baby, please. And she got me a can of Copenhagen. I stuck that bad boy in front of my lip. Ooh, so good. And we got some gas. I got $5 worth of gas because we weren't going that far. So we started on up the road and we turned on the country music station and we're having a good morning. Everything is going perfect. Well, so we're getting closer. We have the GPS on and we finally get to Sheila's mom and them's house. And let me tell you, I knew right away that I didn't belong there because they had a fence, a privacy fence, all the way around their 3-story house. I mean, this place was so nice. The whole subdivision was beautiful, except I felt like a felon. Like, this place was so nice that I want to be sitting out on the front lawn drinking lemonade in a Speedo just waving to the neighbors. Because that's what you do when you live such a fancy lifestyle. And the road was paved. There was no gravel in sight. And she had to put in a code to get through the entrance of the gate, which, in my opinion, was my second red flag. So I drive through the gate, and Sheila says, turn that music down, because Daddy will get mad. He don't like that kind of music. I said, yes, ma'am. I'll turn the music down. But whoever don't like Conway Twitty ain't somebody I want to associate with anyway. But to be respectful, I turned it down, and I pulled up. I'm getting ready to find me a spot. But there was cars parked everywhere because they had like 5 or 6 cars, and they were all BMWs. So I pulled in the grass, and Sheila said, "No, you can't park here. If you park here, Mama and Daddy be furious. They spend thousands of dollars on their grass to look like this." Lady, but where I'm from, we're lucky if we even have grass. We throw grease out in the front yard and we kill the grass. We weed eat. And whatever happens to it happens to it. So I'm trying to pull into the back up into the driveway where I can. And I floored it. And I left huge tire tracks through the front of their yard. And I'm panicking. So I jump out, I leave the car running, and I start trying to shovel up the dirt and grass that I can to fill the holes up that I just ruined their grass with. And it was too late. I looked up and I seen Sheila's mama and Sheila's daddy walking out of the front door. And they come over and they hug Sheila, and they're dressed so nice. Her daddy's wearing a polo shirt, tucked in, nice khaki pants, some of those Hayfeller shoes. Her mama, she's wearing a sundress. I don't know why she's wearing a sundress because it's freezing damn cold. And they just look like the perfect TV couple. And Sheila says, Hey, Mama. Hey, Daddy. I want you to meet my boyfriend, Bill. And they look over at me in disgust. They're like, who the hell is this? And where did you find this piece of trailer trash? But they didn't say that. They said, oh, nice to meet you. What's your name again? And I said, oh, I'm Shiddy Bill. They said, Shiddy Bill, what kind of a name is that? And I said, the one my mom and daddy gave me. I was getting a little bit of an attitude because you don't disrespect mom and daddy like that. I stuck my hand out. My hand's covered in dirt, but I'm a working man. That's what happens. Her dad's talking about, son, why don't you come inside and wash your hands, and then I'll shake your hand. My hand ain't good enough for you to shake right now. I said, okay, we'll go inside. But then as I'm walking, he said, did you do this to my yard? Do you know how much money I paid to have this fixed every year? To have the greenest, perfect cut grass? And I said, sir, I'm so sorry. I I didn't know where to park, and I was trying to get reversed back up into your driveway there, and I accidentally hit the gas too hard, and it sent grass and dirt flying. And he said, huh, Sheila really does know how to pick 'em, don't she, Tammy? And I said, excuse me? And he said, come on inside now, let's get your hands all cleaned up. They're muddy. And I'm a little mad at this point, as you can tell. I look over at Sheila and give her the look. She said, Bill, just calm down. Keep yourself together. We'll only stay for a few hours. So a few hours. I came over here to meet 'em, not to hang out with 'em, not to gossip. But you do what you gotta do when you're in love. So I go inside, they point me to the kitchen. I start washing my hands, and I seen a towel. You know, a towel by the sink usually indicates that it's okay for you to dry your hands off on it. Right? Wrong. I started drying my hands off on it, and Sheila's mom was talking about, no, you can't use that. That's for decorations only. Why would you do that? We have paper towels right here. Irritating, but understandable. I took a deep breath. I said, I'm sorry, Miss Lambert. She said, it's okay. Why don't you go on in the living room with uh with Sheila's daddy, and me and Sheila are gonna make some tea. Y'all talk, and we'll come out and meet you in just a minute. I said, okay. I already knew this was gonna go bad. Me and this guy by ourselves in the room together. I just know I'm gonna whoop his ass, and I'm gonna go back to jail because he's a cop calling. I know he's a cop calling, and I know he's got lawyer money. So I'm screwed. So I go into the living room and I sit down, and he says, "Could you not sit there? That is for our dog. That's his spot." And I said, "Your dog has a designed location on the couch in which he is supposed to sit?" Yes, he's like family, is what he says. I'm like, are you serious? Okay, whatever. Not my house, not my rules. Okay. So I sit down, and he's just a staring at me. And this dog comes and he sits on the couch beside me, and he's just he's growling and he's showing his teeth, and he's talking about some Sir Wigglebottom. Sit down. We don't do that when we have company. So not only does the mama not like me, no, not only does the daddy not like me, the dog wants me dead. Wants my head on a platter. And Sheila's daddy says, "What do you do for what do you do for a living?" And I said, "Well, right now I'm between jobs because I like to have two jobs. But I do run my own used car lot." And he wants to talk about some used car lot. Why don't you sell new cars? You would make so much more money doing that. That's stupid. And I said, "Excuse me? My daddy left his business behind after he got abducted by aliens, and he left it for me to take over. And he wants to talk about how aliens aren't real and how I must be joking and how I'm a comedian or something like that." And it's not going good. He don't like me and I don't want to be in his house anymore. Damn, you hear that? So I said, "Tim, I have you know that little rinky-dink used car lot is the number one used car lot in America right now." And he's talking about how he might be interested in investing. I might have a vestor in my business now. So I'm trying real hard to be on his good side at this point. I'm like, "Tim, you and Tammy have such a beautiful home." He says, "Thank you." He tells me he wants to show me around. So I get up and he's walking me through the kitchen. He shows me the bathroom. He shows me the bedrooms. He takes me downstairs into the basement. He has a little man cave in there, all decked out in Elvis Presley memorabilia, and has a pool table. And it's real nice. And he says, "I'm going to take you upstairs into the spare bedroom, and I never do that, and I'm going to show you something that I don't show anybody." I'm like, "Okay, I finally have his trust. He's going to show me something. I don't know what it is." Takes me up there. And he says, "Are you ready to see this?" And he opens the door. He has it locked. He's using a special key to unlock it. And he lets me in. And I walk in with him. And I shit you not, there's about 12 different little taxidermy stuffed chihuahuas all over the room that used to be his pets that have passed on, and it scared the living shit out of me. And I started screaming, "Oh, you got to get me out of here. I can't be around all this demon stuff." And he got so mad. He said, "You're so disrespectful. Why don't you go back in the living room and sit down? I'm gonna tell Sheila not to bring you back to the house ever again." So off to a bad start. Real bad start. Right? Wrong. It gets worse. So I go and I sit in the living room. He's sitting across from me. He has his hands all folded up like this, like he's a lawyer. Sheila and her mama Tammy come on into the living room and they made tea. They're all drinking it out of these little glass cups. And I noticed they all have their pinkies up. And they're talking about how good it is. And I take a drink. I immediately spit take. I spit it everywhere. Complete accident. Burnt the shit out of myself. But I also noticed there ain't no sugar in this. They're giving me unsweet tea, which also means they're trying to poison me because I'm allergic to unsweet tea. which ain't their fault for not knowing. But then they got mad at me for spitting it everywhere, talking about how rude and disrespectful I am and how I ain't got no manners and that mama didn't house train me. I'm getting mad as hell. They're talking about mama. I had to go to the bathroom. I said, would you excuse me? I need to go to the bathroom. Could you point me in the direction? They pointed down the hall. First door on the right. I go to the bathroom. At this point, my stomach's bubbling. I need to take a big old dump. I sit on the toilet. I'm using the bathroom. And I'm in there for a little bit, and I left my phone out in the living room. So I start reading shampoo bottles because I'm bored. And that's what you do whenever you don't have a phone. And I start hearing her little punk daddy talking about how, oh, you really did pick a good one. Oh, huh. Have you seen that guy? He looks like a caveman. He's dumber than a box of rocks. And he's so disrespectful. And her mom was talking about, yeah, and he smells like gas station coffee and Slim Jims. Where did you meet this guy, Sheila? We want better for you. She said, Mama, Daddy, I love him. I met him down at the Waffle King, and I think he's the one. And there ain't nothing you gonna do about it. We're gonna be together. Her daddy's talking about some. I'll give you $5,000 if you take him home and leave him. She said, Daddy, there ain't enough money in the world. That's the man of my dreams right there in that shitter. I got a big old smile on my face. I was so happy to hear Sheila taking up for her man. I get out of the bathroom. I'm getting ready to get out of the bathroom, excuse me. And I flush the commode. Then a whole bunch of water comes coming out the top of it. And there's poop particles everywhere. There's little turds floating around. I flooded the crap out of their bathroom. And I yelled for help. I said, please, come in here and help me. I accidentally flooded the bathroom. They come running in there. And her daddy is mad as hell and he slipped and fell. And he landed on one of my turds. And it ruined his white shirt. And I reckon he was madder than a possum trapped in a garbage can. And there was no going back from there. I most definitely was not getting my used cars dealership vested in. And her mama and her, they gathered up some mops and some towels and some gloves and they got it all cleaned up. And her daddy went and got changed. And he said, well, I reckon you guys ought to stay for dinner. And I was so done. I was just ready to get up and leave. I did not want to be there anymore. After all the torment I had gone through. So her mama makes dinner. She asked us what we wanted. I recommended meatloaf because that just sounded so damn good. And she was like, meatloaf? Only poor people eat meatloaf, Bill. I'm like, excuse me? Only poor people eat meatloaf? The hell are you talking about? So she made something called wine braised short rib with mashed taters and garlic sauce. And don't get me wrong, it was good as hell. Some of the best eating I'd done in months. But it was too damn fancy for me. So they get it all plated up, and her daddy said, y'all give me just a second. I'm gonna go freshen up and then I'll be back out here. And apparently he had left his little gold watch on the bathroom sink. And when he got in there, it wasn't in there anymore. And he comes talking about some. Look, I'm not saying any names, but somebody stole my watch off the bathroom sink. And I need everybody in here to empty their pockets out. Well, the only people in here is him, Tammy, and Sheila, and me. He comes over there, starts filling up my legs, telling me to empty out my pockets, and how he wants to go out to the truck to check it. And I said, "You're not checking anything, buddy. I don't come into people's houses stealing nothing." And he goes, "I guess I'm going to have to call the police then." And I said, "You ain't calling nobody, pal." I stand up and I take that route short rib and I chuck it across his kitchen and it smashes on the wall. And now he's mad. And he goes, "I know you stole my watch and I want it back. That was my granddaddy's." I said, "Listen here, Tim, I don't steal nothing from nobody. If I want it, I make a way to get it." He grabs his phone and he starts calling 911. And I grab the phone and I smash it right in front of them because I know if they come out here, I'm going back to jail. And I can't go to jail for a fifth time this year. Mama ain't getting me out. And Sheila can't afford it. So I guess he felt like he was in a tight, sticky situation. So he grabbed one of the skillets out from under the cabinet drawer and he whopped me on the head with it and left a big old gash down the side of my head and I'm leaking, laying in his floor. There ain't nothing I can do about it. And he's talking about some, "Sheila, you need to scoop your boyfriend up off the floor and take his ass home. He ain't welcome here no more." And she says, "Daddy, that's the love of my life, and you aren't going to talk to him like that." And her little 5 foot nothing self, she jumped on him like a rabid monkey and started clawing his eyes and spitting on him and bashing his head in with her elbows, and she left him messed up. He had a big old knot on the top of his head. Her mama's on the side of the kitchen just holding the dog back and she's crying, and I get up and I'm trying to separate them and he punches me in the nose and the dog comes and bites me on the leg and I punt kick that little crap across the kitchen. It was getting out of hand and the cops finally showed up. They want to know what happened because one of the neighbors called the law because it was getting loud. And you'll never believe what happened. I don't know if he got relocated, but Officer Ritchie was the one who showed up. You remember from the last story where I'd got arrested for Black Friday shopping, you know the deal. Well, Earl said, I'm sorry, excuse me. Ritchie said, "What's going on here?" And her little stuck up daddy said, "That stupid SOB stole my granddaddy's watch off my bathroom sink." And he goes, "Bill, did you do that? You mind if I check you?" I said, "No, sir, I didn't do that. You can absolutely check me." And he checks my pockets. And he ain't find nothing. He checks my wallet. He ain't find nothing. He goes on it to my truck. He ain't seen nothing. So he said, "Were y'all all fighting?" I said, "Yes, sir. We were all fighting. All of us except Tammy. She just stood over in the corner like nothing was happening, scared. And that little dog bit me on the leg." And he said, "Does anybody want to press charges? Going once, going twice." And Tim said, "No, I don't want to press charges. I just want him out of my house. I'll never want to see him again." And I said, "No charges. I want to press charges. I want to press charges on him and that little shit dog of his. The dog bit me on my leg, took a chunk out of me. He hit me over the head with a frying pan, bashed my nose. So I filed a report, and they took Tiny Tim to jail. And her mom was talking about some. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that. You were just as involved as he was. But I never laid a hand on nobody. I was pissed. I said, Sheila, get your stuff. We're going home. She said, Bill, if you're going to put my daddy behind bars, I don't want to go anywhere with you. And I said, you better get off in that car if you want. If you want to go home with me, you better get in that car now or you're staying here. And she said, well, I guess I'm staying here. So I got in the car. I drove myself back to Mama's trailer and I called it a night. And I got my phone out of my pocket and I gave Sheila a call. And it said, please leave a message. So I said, Sheila, baby, it's me. It's Shiddy Bill. I just want you to know I miss you. And you should come home. And I ain't heard from her in about 7 days now. And I feel a little bit lost, a little sad. And I'm gonna give it about 2 more days now before I call it quits. Everybody keeps on telling me she's a floozy anyways, and that I don't know, I don't need no part in all that. And that's my story. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you love somebody and it's going crystal clear perfect, don't meet their family. It ain't worth it. I mean, my family is not perfect, especially Earl Jr. But we all get along after we fight it out. Shayla, if you're watching this, I just want to apologize for getting your daddy locked up. He wholeheartedly deserved it, that little rat bastard. And Tammy, I apologize to you too. You have a beautiful home, but you have a filthy, filthy husband who plays dirty. But he went against the dirtiest player in the trailer park, Shiddy Bill. And I may not have won the fight, but I got him locked up now, didn't I? So guess who really won? Me. And guys, that concludes this episode, and I want to thank you for being along for the journey. I do believe next week we have a special guest coming. And if you guessed Shitty Bill, or sorry about that, if you guessed Earl Jr., you might be right. I'll go ahead and tell you. Cat's out of the bag now. Next week, Shitty Bill, Earl Jr., Another Shitty Day podcast presents to you another shitty Christmas special. That's right. So go on and get underneath the Christmas tree, sip you some eggnog, tell family stories, love your loved ones, hate your rivals, sit back and relax and watch your favorite low budget trailer trash redneck podcast, Another Shitty Day, present to you another shitty Christmas special. And with that, that's a wrap for the show today. It's been real. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe. And if you or a loved one have ever had problems meeting your loved one or significant other's family, comment below. And thank you for having another shitty day with Shiddy Bill.